NASCAR's latest stop on the schedule was in Pennsylvania, my home state, the Pocono Raceway. And normally, when you're at the racetrack, the race looks a lot better than it does on TV. And in all honesty, in at every truth of breath that I've given in my life, I have been to many Pocono races since 2010. Been to a lot of them, and this one may be the worst of them all. I had 2013, the June 2013 race that I went to was probably the worst before today. And now I feel like today's race just topped it somehow, some way. It was a bland race. It felt like it was missing something. Like, I don't know what it was. It just was missing something. I can't tell you what it was missing, but it was just missing something. I don't know what it was. But the package, something I had feared for a while now was that this package was not going to blend well with Pocono. The reason I say that is because look at the Xfinity race last year when they tried the plates out and it didn't work. You would think they would have learned from that. But obviously this NASCAR we're talking about, and they don't learn anything. But so race started, and Byron got to the lead at the competition caution. Kyle Larson being off pit road with some strategy. Larson went on to win stage number 1 and stage number 2, so it was looking pretty good for the 42. Like he could get a good amount of points, get top 10 possibly out of the day. It was a good day going for Larson. But the dominant car, the car to beat throughout the whole race was for sure Kyle Busch. He led, I think, almost 80 laps, almost half the race, was pretty much in control for most of it. I think he made the only on-track pass for the lead as well. I'm trying to remember an on-track pass for lead that wasn't on pit road, and I can't remember. So I think he was the one that made the only pass for the lead on the racetrack, which under green, which is something. He made around the outside of Clint Boyer, just got out of his dirty air, got around the outside, turn number 3, made the pass. It was pretty cool to see. I thought, it was cool to see. I was kind of closer to that. Where we sat this year was closer to turn number 3 than we've ever been, I think. So that was kind of cool. It's interesting to see the track from different spots. But there's not much to talk about with this race. There were 13 lead changes, some of the least quality passes in a race at Pocono in a long time. Not much happening at all. Not a lot. Nothing really happened. I would talk about more like package stuff. But I mean, all I have to say is low downforce works so much better at so many racetracks. We see already this year Dover and Phoenix, along with Auto Club and now Pocono, work so much better with low downforce. I'm sure I'm going to say the same about Loudon when we go there in just a few races. High downforce does not work at a lot of places. Indianapolis, I bet, will be another one where it's probably not going to work well. But it is what it is. We're stuck in that, in this capsule of high downforce, low horsepower. A lot of drivers have voiced their displeasure about it. A lot of them have supposedly kept it secret, according to Kyle Busch, who said drivers agree with him behind closed doors. They don't want to say anything out in public. Probably smart, I guess, if depending on what NASCAR is going to do with it. Even Kyle Busch winning the race discredited the package, saying it was very, very insanely hard to pass. And we saw that. Byron got out front and led for 22 laps. And he spent most of the second half of the race running outside the top 10. And that was a car that led the first 22 laps of the race and pulled away. So I don't really know. I don't know how. But I don't know why we're stuck with the package we're stuck with. But it was gruesome. I'll tell you that. It was pretty gruesome. Please, dear God, if next year, I get we need 550 horsepower for the reason of the manufacturers, that we want to attract new manufacturers. Please, dear God, just next year try some low downforce 550 horsepower package. I don't want high downforce. There's no need for high downforce. That big spoiler, it works at a few racetracks. But when it doesn't work at those racetracks, all it does is just create dirty air. And it's just a nuisance for everyone. This dirty air business has to stop. At Pocono, whenever there were lines of cars, they were all separated by the same gap. It was 5 car lengths every car. There may have been 5 cars in line. There were 5 car lengths in between every car because that was a dirty air bubble. It was 5 car lengths, and no one could get by that point unless your car was fantastic, which Kyle Busch's was. Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson were the only cars that I saw that were able to get behind someone and get by them somehow. They were the only 2 cars that were really passing throughout the race. But there were some cautions early on, some cautions during stage 2. The big threat was for rain. That was going to be a huge thing. There was rain coming towards the racetrack. It has been a washout all week in northeastern Pennsylvania. So it was kind of like, here comes another storm. It was supposed to be damaging storms, some hail and damaging winds and heavy downpours were supposed to come and take place. From the looks of the weather forecast, the race was supposed to get underway, and then some thunderstorms would come during the middle of the race, break it up, so it was potentially a race to the 100 lap mark, which was the end of stage number 2. It ended up being no rain ever came, and in fact it barely rained where I live, about an hour from the racetrack. So not much happened, I'm gonna assume, at the racetrack. It pretty much dissipated all throughout. So good job, weather forecasters, putting us in worry mode for no reason. It was actually a perfect day. It was very, very cool. It was not humid at all. It was like 60s and 70s, but it wasn't humid, so it was nice. It was just comfortable. Sun would come out here and there, mostly cloud cover, but there would be sun here and there. The pre-race festivities were cool. They shot like a cannon off during the national anthem, which scared the living crap out of me because that was very loud. And they had some fireworks in the middle of turn number 3. They had some parachuters come down. I think they had like 5, 6, 7 of them, which was cool and crazy. There were a lot of them. That was cool. And another thing about the package, and this isn't necessarily a knock on the package, but when I was there, I was expecting the package, since it's 550 horsepower, I was expecting the cars to look slower. That didn't happen. The cars looked pretty fast. Maybe they look slower, I don't know. I couldn't really tell the difference. Something I could tell the difference of, though, was that they were quieter. That was not something I expected, but with 550 horsepower, I guess that makes sense. They were quieter all throughout the race. They would come by and they weren't as loud. They were still loud. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a race car going by. It's going to be loud, but they were quieter. Something that I actually took note of was in races past, when they raced down Long Pond Straightaway, which is the second straightaway of the track, when they raced down that straightaway, I could normally hear them. I could hear them like off in the distance. You kind of hear the roller cars go, like it's like you can actually hear off in the distance, and it's kind of cool. I realized I could only hear that when they got into the short chute, which is the third straightaway. It was weird. Like they were very, like, I don't know. I can't say very quiet because they weren't very quiet, but they were quieter, and it was actually kind of weird. I didn't like it too much, but maybe it's easier to talk to people now in the stands that with the quietness, but it was weird. Something I'll never miss, though, about the sound of those cars going by is that when they go by, if it's like one at a time, when they go by, or not even one at a time, but when it's like a few at a time, when they go by, when they're like leaving behind, the sound it makes, where it's kind of like tunnel almost. It's like, I can't even describe what it's like. It goes like, and it kind of dies down. I kind of like that sound. I don't know why, but it's a cool sound to hear. I hadn't actually been hearing it much. I heard it today, but I hadn't really been hearing it much the past few years. I don't know what it is, but overall, the Pocono race didn't deserve too much credit. It was maybe the worst race of the season at this point. It might have topped over for that honor, but yeah, we've had either really good races or really bad races this season. I'm pretty sure we've had a few average ones, but yeah, it just has been a very bipolar season. This package, and don't get me wrong, there's never going to be a package that makes every track look good. However, this package has made the tracks that where it doesn't work at a track, it just hurts that track. It handicaps it completely. There's no way if the package is bad at a track, it's not just gonna be a mediocre race. If it's bad at a track, it's gonna be a horrible race. So it's kind of like the tale of two extremes. It's either gonna be really good or really bad. So that's something, I guess. I mean, good Lord, this package hasn't really done much, in my opinion. It started to grow on me just a little bit after Kansas in the 600, but now I've kind of been put back to reality where I'm like, oh yeah, I still don't really like this package after Pocono. But something interesting about Pocono that actually happened over the weekend was the Xfinity race. I wasn't there, but I watched it on TV, and it was maybe the most entertaining race of the season in my perspective. I was enjoying the race, which was weird. So during the Xfinity race, once again, the Xfinity cars don't use the high downforce package. They use a lower downforce package, and I believe they're around 550 horsepower. There's something like the Cup cars. But that was a race worth talking about, is the Xfinity race. Cars are spinning by themselves. That was interesting to see. You don't see that in Cup in 2019 because there's so much downforce and the cars are planted to the ground. On top of that, they were lifting. They were still getting runs down. I think it was something weird. I think they were getting bigger runs down the straightaways with those cars than they were with the Cup cars. And that's the Cup cars are supposed to be designed to punch a huge hole in the air and create a big suck. With those Xfinity cars, watching on race view, through the corner, the gap would expand because of the dirty air. Down the straightaway, it would close down to like a tenth. It was crazy the runs they were getting down the straightaways in the draft with such a small spoiler. Like, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but the Xfinity race was great, man. I was enjoying it. It was cool to see the drivers having to drive. Stage 3 got a little boring, I guess you could say, because some pit strategy that spread the whole field around. A late yellow came out for Jeffrey Earnhardt going for a spin off of Austin Cindric. That set up a restart and a crash and then another restart. And on the restart, Tyler Reddick made a huge move in turn number 1 on the overtime restart to get to the lead. He was behind Custer, pushed Custer, and then jumped to the inside turn 1, made it stick and got around and pulled away. But then at the white flag, like what he did, imagine Talladega, that's what he was doing at Pocono. Swerving back and forth down the straightaway, trying to break the draft, and entering turn 1, he was down low, so he had to come up and arc the corner. He swerved it all the way to the right, came up and hit the wall just a little bit. That was crazy. I think that affected his turn number 1 entry, so he went a little wide through turn 1. Custer closed in with a nice run off turn 1, closed in down Long Pine Straightaway, closed in the tunnel turn, and then in the short shoot, he was within striking range of Tyler Reddick. I think Wright looked in the mirror and said, oh crap, there's going to be something coming. So he probably drove it off into turn 3 a little bit harder than he needed to and slid up the racetrack. He got loose and went up the racetrack, and Custer dove to the inside, and they did a drag race at the start-finish line, and it was all in all Cole Custer winning in a last corner pass at the Pocono Raceway in the Xfinity Series. I have been hard on this Xfinity race, even though it is my home track and is the track that is closest to me on the NASCAR schedule. I have said I do not like Xfinity going to Pocono, but they produced a thriller on Saturday. So props to the Xfinity Series drivers for a great race on Saturday, the better race of the weekend, and showing low downforce works better at Pocono. We saw it the last few years as well. 2016 had some pretty good races at Pocono. 2017 had the first 2017 race was great. 2018, the second 2018 race was great. So that's basically all I have to talk about before, don't want to go too far into package debate, because that's basically every other race now. We have to talk about the package because that's the day and age we are in. We cannot just stay with one package. And did you also notice how if there was like a bad race last year, NASCAR would admit it was a bad race because that the drivers wanted that package. But now, since it's NASCAR's package, if it's a bad race, they're going to probably layer something onto it. So we'll just have to see what Steve O'Donnell and all them say. Michigan is next. I don't know about that one. I'm still trying to decide whether that one's going to be good or not, because it's shaped like it should be to produce a good race. It's 2 miles long. It's fresher pavement. However, the track hasn't wound out enough to where they can run out of dirty air. So that'll be interesting, because I feel like Kansas and Charlotte were only good because they were able to run high or low to get out of the wake of each other. At Michigan, you can't really run anywhere besides the 1.5 lanes that they have because the track sucks at widening out. And also, is it going to be hot? If it's going to be hot, it probably won't be great. So that's going to be something to look forward to, I guess. Who knows what's going to happen at Michigan? No one knows because of the new package. But after Michigan, we take an off week, and then we go to Sonoma, and then thank God NBC is coming back because I'm ready for that to happen. I didn't watch the race obviously on Fox because I was at the track. But I have to assume that if it looked bad at the racetrack, I cannot imagine what it looked like on TV when you're just forced to focus on something. At least I could like look around, try and find something interesting at the track. On TV, you're forced to focus on what TV wants you to see. And there are actually numerous times throughout the race where I was looking at something off in like turn number one. Someone got up high and almost into the wall. It wasn't Byron. I remember Byron doing that. That was on TV. But because the screens at the track show what the TV is showing, unless the TV's in commercial. But this was like after a restart. I'm trying to remember who it was, but they got up high and almost into the wall, and they lost some spots. They lost some momentum, and like you could hear I think it was Dave Mooney yelled about it, like, "Oh, at the racetrack, out of the groove," and it, dropping back. It might have been Almirola, I don't know. But I looked at like the big screens, and they were showing like some single file battle for a second, and they weren't showing that. I was like, "Come on, Fox, like get on with it, show some of the stuff back in the pack for once, man." But yeah, not a great race at Pocono. Probably the worst one I've been to. And somehow that top 2013, because the 2013 one was pretty bad, I have to admit. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully next race is better than what we saw here today. And I'll see you guys for the next video.